Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the challenges of free offenders, challenges of ex-offenders, re-entering the free world. And of course we have here to talk about some of the problems that individuals who have been incarcerated face once they are paroled for whatever reason, having an opportunity to come back into society, is Reverend Pastor KWalker. Reverend Walker is the founder of the organization, the Hands of God Ministry. And of course, Reverend Walker, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Well, I'm glad to be here, Dr. Haney. It's a pleasure to be here again, talking to you once again about some things I consider to be very important.
Well, I tell you, I believe, Reverend Walker, that about the best information that we have dealing with incarceration and et cetera will come from you, because you've given us so much information and in a real sense have enlightened us about a lot of things that are going on and have gone on in the system of incarceration. Let's have you, Pastor Walker, to start us off today by talking about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in your life, and then we'll talk about some of the problems and some of the challenges that people who have been incarcerated face once they attempt to come back into society.
Okay. Well, I was born here in Nashville, Tennessee, born of two good, hard-working parents. One of my father's now deceased, and I was educated in the public school system of Tennessee. Did not graduate from high school, actually ended up going into the Navy, coming out of the Navy, got a GED through OIC, spent a little time in, at Tennessee State University, of course, didn't graduate from there either. Ended up incarcerated in the prison system, did a little college in prison as well, but basically, and never got a degree in anything, but that brings me, to where I am today. All of those life experiences have led me to where I am right now in life today. I am currently the founder and the president, CEO, pastor, senior servant of the Hands of God Ministries, which consists of the Hands of God Christian Church and the Hands of God Recovery Ministries, and we're located in East Nashville on Woodland Street. We have 5 houses, recovery houses, and our primary purpose is to assist people who are basically down on their luck, people that are on drugs and alcohol, people that the society is looked down upon as being rejects, ever say, and especially those coming out of the prison system. This is what we're doing.
You know, when you talk about re-entry, you've got 5 houses, and I would imagine that most of them deal with individuals who have been incarcerated and have come out. And so you've got quite a bit of experience dealing with this whole issue, or what you consider to be the challenges of coming back into society. If you had, excuse me, to explain to our audience this morning some of these challenges, what would you say would probably be the greatest challenge that individuals who've been incarcerated have to face?
The biggest issue that I'm dealing with right now with people coming out of the system would be the fact that they're coming out without any kind of identification. That's one of the big issues right now, because you take an individual that's been paroled and then they come back into society, then they come in with no identification, and now technically if a law enforcement officer stopped one of these individuals and they find out that they don't have an identification, they can hold them in jail for 72 hours. Now, technically, that would be a violation because it's an arrest, and they could very well end back up in the system. But it's amazing to me, Dr. Haney, how that the state, you can be in state custody, but yet you can't leave state custody with a state identification card. Now, let me add this, though, that I have met with the Assistant Commissioner of Rehabilitative Services, and they are working to solve that problem right now. So hopefully that's going to be a non-issue after a while. But right now it's a very big issue.
And it seems to be a very, very important issue, because it seems that the state of Tennessee ought to be able to recognize individuals who are going back and recognize the importance. And when you talk about identifications, you're talking about driver's license.
Well, not necessarily the driver's license, but the if they have driver's license, of course, they can have the renewal process while they're incarcerated. But mainly the photo ID. If they can get the photo ID, which is basically a sheet of paper that's saying, okay, this guy's been in here, or this woman's been in here for the last 10, 15, 20 years. We know who they are. Take this piece of paper, go down to the Highway Patrol officer, wherever you get the license or the ID, and say, this is the document that identifies me as this person right here. And then should be able to get the, get it from there with no cost to the state. I'm not saying the state needs to pay for it. Would be ideal if they did, but if they don't want to do that, then at least give them something that says I can get my ID for the $8 or the $12 that would have cost to get it.
And of course, we're getting ready for our first break here, Pastor Walker. But it does seem to me that this ought to be a non-issue, you see, because these individuals have been incarcerated, and now they are out, and the state ought to recognize that they have to be identified, and they ought to be willing to supply that identification. And of course, we'll be back following this very, very short commercial break. The issue